So I just wanted to give you all an update on the events of last weekend when I went to 30 East Drive in Pontefract. So it's taken me a week to think about what happened and kind of process the events and get it all stable in my head. So rather than go through footage and edit it all and do a video and put it up, I thought before I do anything, I just wanted to really kind of touch base with you all and explain really what happened last weekend. So on Saturday last week, I arrived at 30 East Drive. I was a bit early, so I parked my car on the drive and I had a walk around the estate just to get a feel of what the estate was like. I haven't been to that place before, so it was nice to just get an idea. Once I was inside, I was met by Lisa, who was the host for some of the evening, who was absolutely amazing, really lovely person, very grounded, very honest, gave you loads of time to kind of settle in and move around the house without any kind of restriction. She was really good about not overly sharing too much information, so it didn't fill your head or clog your head or your thoughts with things that may or may not happen over the course of the night, which I really respected her for. There were a few other people there as well, who were an amazing bunch of people, really, really great, all very grounded. Everybody seemed really honest and open, so that was really quite nice. So initially I was super excited because kind of, you know, crossing the threshold of one of the most infamous haunted houses, I don't know, in Europe, the world, whatever you want to call it. So to be able to do that was in itself was fantastic. Got in, did the kind of health and safety chat with Lisa and, you know, what's what, and then had a quick look around the house, which I didn't take too much in, to be honest, to start with. I spent the first sort of 45 minutes keeping myself very reserved from everybody else around me so that I could just take in what was happening in regard of you know, how the evening was going to pan out. So we went into the front room, we all sat down, and I just chose a corner on the settee in the lounge, which I'm sure you're all aware of. And I was basically just sitting like this, just listening to Lisa while she was going through a few things, how the evening was going to work. And I felt a stinging on the back of my hand, and I didn't take too much notice at first. And then after, I don't know, about 20 seconds or something like that, it was really quite irritating. So I looked down and my hand was bleeding quite heavily. So I'm actually on blood thinners. So I was a little bit alarmed because I thought, shit, what have I done? You know, how have I done that? A bit bizarre because I hadn't actually moved. And prior to this, I'd been sitting in the corner, just drinking a bottle of water. I hadn't done anything. I hadn't moved anywhere. I hadn't moved. So I was a bit embarrassed. I spoke to the person next to me and I said, you know, so I didn't really want to butt in because Lisa was talking, but I did. We went into the kitchen and we, you know, kind of got the first aid box out and looked for some plasters and stuff and whatever. And I think everybody else is a bit more shocked than I was because there were two cuts on my hand. There was one on my main knuckle, and then on the next finger, on the knuckle of the finger, there was another one. And there were like two little dashes, but really quite deep, and it kind of bled on and off for the rest of the night, which was slightly pissing me off because I kept sort of stopping to, you know, put something on it. So, you know, I didn't initially put it down to anything. I just thought, okay, fair enough, it's happened. It's, you know, everybody else was quite perturbed by it and was like, oh God, you know, what do you think? And I thought, well, I don't think anything, but it was very, very odd that it happened. Anyway, moving on from that, we went on to do some vigils and stuff, some table tipping and glass, you know, table and glass stuff, which I'm not really that interested in it, if I'm honest with you. I've done it previously a long time ago, and I didn't really get anything from it. It didn't really rock my boat. It didn't prove or disprove anything. But I went through the motions on both occasions on Saturday, just to see and experience it with people that I didn't know. It was quite eventful. Was it paranormal or spiritual? I have no idea. I was really, really mindful that the entire time I was in the house, I wanted to really make sure that my mind was as open as it could possibly be, and that I was really aware of everybody else around me and my environment, to make sure that I took everything I could into consideration, so that I didn't jump to conclusions that it was this or it was that, or it was paranormal, it was a ghost, or, you know, it's really important to just not do that. Part of Essex Paranormal this time around for me is so importantly about, when I say research, more so after the fact, because the more you know beforehand is probably quite dangerous, but research after you've done an investigation, so that you can reflect on what's happened or not, and kind of break it down that way. I also want to talk about things, which is, you know, what this video is about with Essex Paranormal this time around. I don't really want to just keep putting tons of footage out and hoping that everybody's going to click and like, and, well, I don't hope that, you know, and just create these wonderful videos of apparent evidence that there's stuff out there. It's much more than that for me. It's more about discussion, and it's more about going back to basics. So that's kind of why I'm doing this video, to explain to you what happened last week. So that aside, as the evening went on, we did some vigils, and just to be really clear here, other people and Lisa, who kind of orchestrated the night, who was absolutely amazing, I have to say, absolutely amazing. Used lots of equipment. All of mine was still sitting downstairs in my bag. I hadn't even attempted to get anything out up to this point, because there didn't seem very much need at that time. The knocking started, and one thing and another, which was interesting. One particular moment, we were all sitting and standing in what was Mr. and Mrs. Pritchard's bedroom, the main bedroom, and I was sitting on the bed just facing the wardrobes, and the wardrobe door just opened. Nobody touched it. I'm not going to sit here and try and convince you that, you know, there weren't any wires or people did it in the dark. It was illuminated enough for me to see. It did just open. At that point, the bedroom door to the small bedroom, I think it was Diane's room, that opened as well. I'm not quite sure about this, because the bedroom door seems to open for everybody repeatedly. So when I go back on my own in September, maybe before, I'm gonna look at that door, because I'm not convinced that it might just be an issue with the lock. But anyway, I don't know, but it opened at the same time. So we moved around the house and we did some other stuff. I had a sensation that somebody was touching the back of my head in Philip's bedroom, so I moved, and it continued. As we moved around the house and went back downstairs, the knocking really kind of ramped it up. I found that more interesting than probably anything else, because it became, in some instances, quite aggressive, and it was very, very loud. There were a few bangs and crashes, and the evening kind of went on like that, and it was really interesting. And some of the dynamics between the people that were there, sharing their experiences and stuff, was really good. They went off and did some lone vigils. I kind of held back for the simple reason that about 3:30 everybody was leaving, and I was going to do the rest of the night on my own. So I'd kind of planned to do more investigating and experimental stuff once everybody had left, because it's easier and there's not so much sound pollution, and obviously as many people moving around the property. So to cut a long story short, eventually it was time to let everybody go. Lisa went through what I need to do to make the house secure before I leave, and I agreed to close down everything that we'd been doing before I left, in the best interests of her and other teams and everybody else that enters the house after we've gone, which I did do. So as Lisa left, I more or less followed her out to my car to get a bag from my car to get some more drinks and my sleeping blanket. Not that I actually used it. Which brings me to really the main point of this video. Lisa drove away. I re-entered the property. It was around 3:45, and within 10 seconds of being back in, I locked the kitchen door and the activity just exploded. The knocking on the ceiling and the floors and the walls were continual, and when I say that I mean continual. They didn't stop. They moved from one area to another, and as I walked from room to room, they followed me. I ventured upstairs on my own. Quite interestingly, I got to the bottom of the stairs and the landing light came on. So this is wonderful if you're a paranormal investigator, because this is exactly what you want. You know, this is your green light to go off and investigate and think, okay, it's happening. To be really honest with you, I was absolutely shitting myself. I was petrified. The atmosphere within the house was something that I've never ever experienced in my life. I really don't want to be dramatic. I really don't want to make it anything other than what it was, but it was something I've never experienced. When I got to the top of the stairs, the bathroom door, which I had opened because it was a room I was very interested in, just closed, just completely closed, to the point of almost clicking the lock. It didn't, but it just closed quite rapidly. And then the banging in the ceiling above, in Peter's room, above the bed, was, it was just ferocious. It was just absolutely ferocious. It was so loud. My equipment was still downstairs. I was absolutely petrified. I don't mind admitting it. I've been to some locations in my life. I just want to say that I had no preconceptions when I went to this place. I've watched some people's stuff on YouTube. I've watched some other stuff. Not the film. I think it's really important to make sure that when you go to a location, that you know enough about it to be able to investigate properly. But I think it's also really important, especially for me, that you're not saturated with information about it, so that you don't have these preconceived ideas and thoughts and beliefs that something's going to happen, because of what you've seen or read. So that was very evident for me. I made sure that I didn't do that. Just really, in a nutshell, the experience that I had last week it's left me really quite speechless, really. It affected me quite profoundly. I had no idea that I was going to experience so much. I really thought that I was quite prepared and ready to investigate 30 East Drive. The truth of the matter was, I've never been more ill prepared for an investigation. I completely misunderstood what happens there. So next time I go, I'm going to do a completely different investigation. I get there early evening and I have the house for a whole day, night. And I'm going to make sure that I do a very different investigation. Most of it will be streamed live as well. So from early in the evening, so people will be able to watch what's going on. If you're unsure, you don't believe, you do believe, or you want to experience, I strongly suggest that it's somewhere that you visit. I'm very apprehensive about going back, but I'm going to. My best friend Simon has said that he'll come with me, which is brilliant because he's quite a unit and it would be great to have him there for backup. If he chooses not to go, I don't know what I'll do, because I need to go back and I need to investigate it properly, thoroughly. But there is no doubt in my mind, absolutely no doubt, that there is something in that house. Is it the Black Monk of Pontefract? I don't know. Is it the Pritchards? I don't know. Is it Fred? I don't know. I really don't know. All I do know is the second you walk in, you feel different. When you leave, you feel very different. I know that not everybody experiences something every time that they visit the house. I completely understand that. Nothing may happen next time I go. I may have absolutely nothing to show you or say to you, but it's very, very apparent to me that there is something going on. I'm really pleased actually that I didn't get too much on camera this time round, because it's made it more personal. And as I said a minute ago, it's affected me quite profoundly. I've thought really of nothing else for the rest of the last week. And that's unusual. Something doesn't normally get under my skin that much. But there will be footage that I'll be putting up, and some links to some stuff as well. For those of you that want to see some stuff. My hand has healed, thankfully. What that was, I don't know. I know that I didn't injure myself, you know. I know that I didn't, but I'm not really going to sit here and try and convince people otherwise. One thing I'm very aware of is that the majority of stuff that happened to me while I was there alone. So I really do understand and believe that there wasn't anybody else around me trying to, pull any tricks. The reality is whatever happened while I was on my own definitely happened. So yeah, just really wanted to touch base with you guys and let you know that, because it was an incredibly important investigation and it's left me reeling. It really has. There's a book that I've got. Actually, I'm just going to grab it because I want to show you what the book is. Okay, so I've got this book, which I'm sure most of you are, aware of. I haven't read it. I've just read the first few pages that are really sort of credits and stuff for the rest of the book. It's written by a guy called Colin Wilson, that was written at the time of the events or thereafter. And apparently it's a really good book. It's a really good read. I don't know very much about it at all, but I'm going to read it before I go back, and I'm going to take it with me next time. And I'm going to read out some paragraphs and stuff while I'm there to see if it acts as some kind of stimulant for the environment. Let's see what happens. But definitely, I'm going to give that a read before I go. So for the moment, that's it. I just kind of wanted to share my experience with you and let you know that, I did it. It was phenomenal. Probably one of the most active investigations I think I've ever done. In a way, I can't wait to go back. I think it's going to be really special. Looking forward to Simon being there, because I think having somebody to bounce off is really good. There wasn't a moment when something wasn't happening. I was in the front room and I did see there's a frosted glass door that leads from the front room into the hallway. And I did see a black mass move across the top of it in the hallway. It was about the size of a football, and it was solid black, and it moved quite quickly, but it was very, very evident. It just shot past the door. Again, I was on my own. One thing that was really quite interesting was, while the people were still there with me earlier in the evening, we were sitting discussing some stuff, and somebody was tugging on my left trouser leg quite strongly, so much so that it actually moved my leg. I didn't say anything at the time. I just kind of ignored it. I brushed it off, and then about 15 minutes later, one of the guys sitting to the right of me, somebody was touching his leg. So that was quite interesting. That it was the same kind of experience, and I'm really glad that I didn't say anything at the time, because for me personally, it kind of showed that, yeah, something was clearly going on. So yeah, for the moment, that's it. There's probably so much more I could talk about, but I don't want to bore the arse off of you. Did I enjoy it? Yes. Was I scared? Yes. I was shitting myself most of the time. I'm going back. Do I think it's haunted? Yeah.